What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Fit Women's Weekly podcast. I hope that you're having an amazing week and you're ready to sit back and listen to a really good conversation. On today's episode, I am joined by a special guest, Mallory Jacks, and I love this conversation because it's truly two women sitting down, having honest conversations, sharing our passions, and I think that we can all really embrace this conversation and pretend like we're just sitting around having a cup of coffee together. What I really love most about talking with Mallory is her excitement for life and never being afraid of trying new things, never settling, always being open to learning new things, to challenging herself. She went from being a yoga instructor to a doula to a massage therapist, specializing in maternity therapy, and then becomes a content marketer. Digital marketer? I'm telling you, this lady's very, very interesting. She has also done a ton of challenges, including doing the hard 75 or 75 hard, whatever you want to call it. And she talks about that experience and how it was really almost life-changing for her. And then what other challenges she's doing in the future. I am always about never letting yourself stagnate, never being afraid to try and get outside of your comfort zone. I think that's what being an adult and being a human is all about. Otherwise, life is just boring. What's the purpose, you know? So this hopefully gives some drive and some excitement to you that you can take and use this as not motivation, because only you can motivate yourself, but inspiration to think of like, wow, this is really cool. What can I do? Maybe something on a smaller level, something maybe grand or even grander that you can do to challenge yourself and to just kind of give a new excitement to your life. So let's jump in to our talk with Mallory. Oh, wait, but first, if you enjoy the Fit Women's Weekly podcast, do me a favor. I have loved reading y'all's reviews. So whatever platform it is that you're either watching this or listening to this, leave a quick review, give it a thumbs up. It really means the world to me. I read all the comments. So if you're on YouTube, leave a comment below this video and maybe you have a question you'd like answered in a future episode. Maybe you have a comment about this particular episode. Or if you're listening to this on iTunes, then just leave a quick little review being like, man, I love Kindle and our weekly chats. It would truly mean the world, and it really does make a big difference. So now, let's jump in. Well, thank you so much, Mallory, for making the time to chat with me. I don't know how I came across your page and kind of just did some research, and I was like, I feel like this woman and I could have a lot in common. And then when you got back to me and kind of started listing off like all these things that you had done, I'm like, yeah, we have to chit chat and make this happen.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love talking about myself.
Yeah. I know people are always nervous to come on a podcast. I'm like, literally, if you can talk about yourself, then you're going to do great.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Well, we're already recording. And so, I mean, basically, I want to know for somebody, you are young, right? You're in your 30s. And when you started talking to me about your experiences so far, what I gather is that you never settle and you're not afraid to try new things and change your life, which I think is something that everybody can learn for. I think that's the secret of a happy, healthy, long life. So in like your 30 years, you told me you've been a doula, you've been a yoga instructor, you've done hard, like 75 hard. You've done so many things to your fitness. You're now into marketing. So share a little bit of that journey and your mindset. And then I want to definitely circle around to like each thing and what you've learned from those experiences.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's funny because I'm 33, but I feel like most people, when they look at me, they're like, oh, you're 28, you're 27. But then when they start hearing about my life, they're like, you're not
40. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm 33. So I grew up in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, and that's the middle of the Bible Belt. A lot of my friends still live there. There's not a lot of like exploration. I didn't grow up in a small town. I grew up in Little Rock, which is the capital. But, there's still like small-mindedness. And I went to a private Christian school my whole life. So there was a little bit of small-mindedness and just like not a lot of possibility in my brain. Like I didn't think there was a lot of possibility for me. Everybody goes to high school, they go to college, they go to an SEC school, they join a sorority, a fraternity, and then they, from there, they get married and have babies. Like most of my friends and they're like, who are my age now, have like 3 or 4 kids.
And
And
the house that you were brought up with, assuming like your parents, were they into that idea as well, kind of feeding into that you'd always be part of that cycle?
yes and no. I think my parents, they one thing that I wish I had more of was more guidance and more support and more encouragement in the things that I liked. My parents just kind of let me do what I wanted to do, and they didn't like encourage me one way or another. I think in the back of their minds, yes, they would have liked me to like, go the straight and narrow path and like choose the path that everybody else
The safe
chose.
path. And I think most parents feel that way.
But they didn't have super strong opinions either way. They kinda have always let me do my own thing, which is probably, I'm just talking about this right now even, is probably why I've always done my own thing. Um, so, I tried that. I went to SEC school. I didn't join a sorority. I tried all that, and then fast forward, I started working in restaurants. I didn't graduate from college. I started working at restaurants, and then, uh, eventually got my yoga teacher training, and then I started working for Lululemon. So I feel like working for Lululemon is like the big pivotal moment. So I don't know if you know anything about, have you interacted with Lululemon people before?
Yeah, back in my day, when
Yeah.
Lulu was kind of first becoming a big brand, it was really common for local instructors to go teach classes just in the store after hours. So yeah, I did do that a couple of times back
Yeah.
back
So
in the early 2000s.
Lululemon, immediately when you start working for them, they introduce you to goal setting, and you go
Mhm.
through goal setting exercises, and they have a library of personal development books that
Oh,
you can choose
wow.
from. And once you're with the company for a certain amount of time, they will send you, they used to do this, I don't think they do it anymore. They send you to Landmark Forum, which is a personal development not webinar, like seminar weekend. So going to that, breaking free of a lot of limiting beliefs that I had about how far I could go in life, where I could go in life, it was a huge catalyst for me. And
Mhm.
from there, I moved to Austin, and then I just kept doing things that were outside of the norm or challenged me in new ways because I think I had that positive reinforcement, the dopamine hit. Um, I got a lot of clout. I don't know, like people were encouraging it. And so I
Right.
kept doing it. So between, doing psychedelics and having this big breakthrough and deciding that I didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. And then
And
traveling
that
the
came
world.
about from trying psychedelics?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
rewind and
Yeah.
share that experience.
Yeah. So I had dabbled in psychedelics in my early 20s before this big personal development journey. But then it wasn't until I met my previous partner. We did. Do you want me to talk like explicitly about the psychedelics or
Yeah, this is a adult
open?
adult podcast, absolutely.
We took some acid and went camping, and it was just this like, I don't know what hit me, but I remember standing in this water and thinking, oh my gosh, like I don't have to work for anybody else anymore. I want to be free. I want to be free all the time. So I ended up quitting my job. My previous partner and I went and traveled the country and the world. We did a Vipassana meditation retreat. We did ayahuasca multiple times. And I started doing freelance work online. So I was just doing random stuff. My previous partner was an internet marketer. He did affiliate marketing. So he was able to like create some connections for me. And it was during that time also that I started tracking my cycle. So I got off birth control. Another like tangent.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got off birth control and
Which was
started.
also before, like, it was kind of not cool, but we have learned so much over the past few years that now younger women are starting to be like, what are alternative methods to birth control aside from taking the pill? To me, it sounds like I am a big believer that our, like, first off, when it comes to psychedelics, like that stuff just enhances our true personality, right? Or like how you feel going into whatever the drug is that you're going to be taking. So to me, it sounds like your personality is a quote unquote rebel, but you maybe just had never realized that before. At least that's how we are in our house. Like if someone tells me, my favorite color is pink, then I'm purposely going to say, well, I don't like pink because
Yeah.
I try to rebel around, or, if everybody loves pumpkin spice lattes, I put off trying a pumpkin spice latte for 10 years because I'm like, I
Yeah.
refuse to do what everybody else
Yeah.
does. And the
Yeah.
same thing with our life. That's why my husband and I became entrepreneurs as well, because we love the journey of being our own boss and creating our own path of life.
Yeah. I think there's so many like rules that
Right.
we unconsciously follow in the world, whether that's relationship dynamics, which is also a part of my story, like choosing different relationship dynamics, whether it's like how we birth. Obviously, I believe different things about that, what we eat. Um, we follow all these like made up rules that society puts on
Right.
us. And I think that I am like, no,
Make
I'm gonna
your
make
own
my
rules.
own rules. I
Yeah.
make up my own rules, and, like, as long as I'm not breaking the law, it's okay. Um, and I'm really grateful, like, in sharing that journey online, like, I get a lot of positive feedback that people are inspired by that, and, if I could redo, in another world, in another life, maybe in this life, in a different timeline, I would love to influence more women to make up their own rules and to break societal norms and do their own thing and be their own person. Um, so going back to the birth control piece, I got off birth control, started tracking my cycle. Really, I was really inspired mostly by biohacking and the way that we as women have a superpower and that we can hack our cycle or harmonize with our cycle so that we can live more powerfully in the world by harmonizing our life with where we are in our cycle. So as I started doing that, felt really empowered. It got me more into the reproductive world, and then wanting to become a doula. So then I did that for a while. Um,
And how was that experience? And just for anyone that's curious, what's the difference between a doula and a midwife? Because I know that question still comes up a lot.
Oh my gosh, all the time. I'm glad you asked. So, a midwife is a medically trained professional who helps women have babies sometimes through the medical model. I mean, they're definitely using more holistic means for the most part. But they can give shots, they can give, you know, they can do stitches, they can give IVs, and there is many different kinds of midwives too. So that's a whole nother conversation. But they're medically trained professionals. There's like a practical midwife who did not go to nursing school or medical school, but went to midwifery school.
Mhm.
And then there are nurse midwives, so someone who went to nursing school and then went on to become a midwife. There's also nurse practitioners who are midwives, et cetera, et cetera. Um, doulas are non-medically trained professionals birth, who help families emotionally, physically, spiritually. I like to think of a doula as your pregnancy and birth and postpartum Sherpa. So we will be an advocate for you. We will be a source of information, a source of resources, so we can refer you to different chiropractors or massage therapists or lactation consultants, etc. But you know it's just a person to walk beside you and guide you, especially in this world where you're just being inundated with so much different information. And I also want to touch on something else and kind of myth bust that doulas are only for home births or doulas are only for birthing center births. That's not true. I think the best doula is a doula who is going to support whatever decision you make. But what's most important for me as a doula is that my clients make an informed decision.
Mhm.
If you're going to birth in the hospital, you need to know exactly what you're getting into and what roadblocks you might hit. Same for a birth center, same for a home birth. For people who want to have a non medicalized, natural birth, um, you might not want to have a baby in a hospital because it's a very medical environment and you're going to be faced with a lot of decisions while you're in this like fight or flight state of giving birth. I mean, ideally you're not in fight or flight, but in a hospital that's more common. So I just like to bust that myth, because most people are like, oh no, I would never have a doula. And most of the births I've attended have been in hospitals because people feel that they need more advocacy and support in the hospital to navigate that system.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
it's also safe to say sometimes that doulas are there as your coach and your supporter as well, because even if you have the best spouse by your side, and I'm saying this if you have a husband as a spouse, a lot of times I don't think I'm not incorrectly by saying I have to look at my husband sometimes and say, I love you and I'm going to tell you this, but I don't want you to give me the answer. I just want you to be here to support me. Right. And so I can only imagine when you're trying to give birth and your husband, who doesn't want to see you in that state, is trying to give you the answers and trying to fix the problem when there really is nothing he can do. And so you're there to be that supportive person to be like, all right, she just needs her hand to be held. Just
Yeah.
rub her head. Just do this. Don't try to fix it. You can't fix it.
Right. And most women and men have never attended a live birth. They have no idea what they're getting into. Birth is a major sacred ceremony, in my opinion. It's very intense energy. Actually, an interesting story. I had a friend who was supporting her friend in passing, like dying at home. And the day after he passed, I went and I saw her, and she was still staying at his house, and we just had dinner like outside of his house. And the energy that she brought, and also what she was explaining to me, and in the energy of the house where he passed, he was around a lot of friends, was exactly like birth. It was like this threshold, this intense ceremony experience. And I used to be super woo woo, and I still hold to some woo-woo tendencies. But when I say it's like a spiritual ceremony, it really is. And I mean that in like the most reverent way. I'm not saying like it's this huge acid trip, but it kind of is. Like it's very intense energy. So, um, people walking into that who have no experience of that, it's nice to have a shaman or a Sherpa there to hold their hand, to make sure that they're eating. Oftentimes, like I'll just hand the husband the water so that he can hand it to the wife. I let them interact, and really there to coach the partner just as much as I am there to coach the wife, the the mother. And then also like to be an extra person to go get food for them, or to like so the husband can go take a nap. Like
Mhm.
there's it's just nice to have an extra hand there.
Do you think that doulas are being more accepted and appreciated by hospital staff as well nowadays?
Definitely, yeah, for sure. There's, the hospitals that I worked at in Austin, they were very supportive of doulas. Now, there still is this hierarchy situation, like the nurse and then the doctor and then the doula. So I would never speak for my client to the medical staff.
Mhm.
But let's say a doctor comes in and they're like, okay, I'm going to check you now. Meaning, I'm going to check their cervix. Instead of talking to the doctor, I looked at my client and say, are you ready for that? Do you want them to check you right now? So just kind
Mhm.
of like being a buffer for them. You kind of have to like know your place, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, like I have some trauma from attending hospital births. It's really challenging. And I've attended like 50 plus births at this point. And I'm not like a active doula anymore. It's not what I do for a full time job anymore. But I will, if somebody, I won't attend hospital births if I can avoid it. Now,
Mhm.
let's say my client is having a home birth and then they transfer to the hospital. That's a little bit different.
Mhm.
But, it's just not something that is right for me. It's a boundary that I have, and as a doula, you have to be very boundaried. As a
Mhm.
caregiver, you have to be very boundaried. So, but again, if somebody wants to have a hospital birth, like, and they've done their research and they know what they're getting into and they feel confident about their decision, like, I will 100% support you.
Love that. And so with your journey continuing on,
Yeah.
what made you like again, that's a really big, I mean, it takes a ton of education, a ton of research, a ton of patience, and then time, to build up the confidence to be in those rooms supporting those families. what was then that shift where you're like, okay, it's time to start learning something else and transforming into a different Mallory?
Yeah. Yeah. So when I was a doula, I was a birth doula. I would usually take like 3 or 4 clients a month. And that means 3 or 4 due dates within that month. But babies come when they want to come. And so, even though the due dates might be spread out, I might still have like 3 or 4 births in one month, or sorry, in one week. And then I was also doing postpartum care. So I would mostly do overnight care where I would go into somebody's house and I would get there about 9 or 10 and then take the baby into the other room, be with the baby. When the baby's hungry, I would take the baby to the mom, but mom would feed, and then I would take the baby away. So the mom and dad didn't have to do the changing of the diapers and the shushing and the getting back to sleep. They could literally just sleep. Um, and my thyroid, I started like my cortisol levels were out of control. My thyroid was 2 times the size it was supposed to be. It's just a pretty high stress world.
Mhm.
And then, not sleeping because I was doing postpartum care, not sleeping because I would be at births for 72 hours, 48 hours, etc. It was just really taking a toll on me. And then you bring in COVID and you bring in, forget what else was happening. I think it was mostly just the COVID piece.
That's a
Um,
big piece.
it was a pretty big
Yeah.
piece. My roommate and I were living in a house, and she kept getting like having respiratory issues in the
Oh,
beginning of
wow.
COVID, and so we were assuming it was COVID. We would go get tested. It would take 7 to 10 days to get your results back. I would have to tell all of my clients, "Hey, I might have COVID." Then I would have to get somebody to cover my births for me. It was just stressful for everybody all around.
Mhm.
On top of, um, yeah. And then also in the beginning of 2020, before COVID hit, I decided to start coaching doulas on their businesses. So I hired a business coach. I went to a retreat. I created an offer. I sold that offer. I made, my first 10K in the early stages of COVID. And so I had the stress of that. I had COVID. I had, trying to work in a hospital during COVID. And it just kind of all started wearing me down where I felt like I wasn't serving my clients the best. I wasn't serving myself the best.
Mhm.
And it just kind of came to a head. Like I was just stressed. I was in sympathetic overdrive, fight or flight all the time. I couldn't relax. My thyroid was 2 times the size it was supposed to be. I had nodules. I had ovarian cyst, like just a lot
Wow.
all at once. And it's not uncommon. The burnout rate for doulas is pretty high.
Mhm.
And I think it's a couple things. I think it's, not having good boundaries. I think that, you have to take a certain amount of clients in order to make enough money to survive. It's also hard to work another job when you're a doula because you
Mhm.
just have to leave sometimes in the middle of the night. Um, so I don't remember the exact point, but I do remember my doula mentors had given me a client, and I went and got a tattoo one day. And driving back from that tattoo, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not good for me. My ego was very tied into it because I
Mhm.
loved being a doula. I loved how important it made me feel. Um, but ultimately, I was doing a disservice to myself and I was doing a disservice to my clients and the community by staying. So I had to choose to go. And then I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. I had my coaching business and I put out a personal audit. So I made a Google form and it said, what do I do? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where are my opportunities for growth? Where do you think my gifts would be best used, et cetera, et cetera?
I love
And
that.
yeah, it was really powerful. I
It's
love
also
that.
very scary and very hard for people to be honest with themselves and do that kind of audit on themselves.
Yeah. But my business coach, who was also a friend of mine, excuse me, she reached out to me and was like, "Would you wanna come work for me?" After she filled out that audit. And so she brought me on as her right-hand woman, and I started doing a lot of back end stuff, some marketing for her, just supporting her in her business, and that was a huge catalyst. I'm, like, so grateful she took a chance on me in that way because from there, it was all that was my path. I worked for her for 2 or so years, and then she decided she was going to close her business and have babies, which she did. And so I started working for some other clients and so on and so forth. And the rest is kind of history. I mean, not history. I now
From
work.
where you are now.
Yeah, yeah. I now at one point last year before last, I was getting burnt out again working online.
Mhm.
And I decided I wanted to work with people again in person with my hands. So I decided to go to massage therapy school.
Oh, wow. You're
So I
amazing.
went, so I went to massage therapy school, and during that time, I had like 5 clients. I was hustling, working at lunch, working, at night, working in the mornings before school. It was a lot. But one of my good friends messaged me and he said, I have this coaching business. I need a head coach. Would you come work with me? So I started working for him. And during that time, our business just started growing, and I took on more of a like client success manager role and head coach role. We hired more coaches. And at that point, it was time. I graduated from massage therapy school. It's time to get my license, which I still should and will do at some point, but it did not make sense for me to um, take time away from my online business to go work at a spa for $150 an hour, because this business is growing so much. Now, I also did go to Chicago and get a fertility massage trained. So I have that in my back
Oh,
pocket.
God. Yeah.
It's called Mercier Therapy from Jennifer Mercier. She's an amazing midwife. And I believe she's a naturopath as well. Um, and it's a visceral manipulation of the reproductive organs to bring blood flow and alignment back to the reproductive organs to help people get pregnant. So that is a 6-series massage treatment.
Mhm.
So I decided to go ahead and do that because there's obviously, when you're treating somebody, they're signing up for 6 packages, 6 series, like there's more income there.
Right.
And people will pay. If people really want to get pregnant, they will pay for those things. So I have that in my back pocket. I have regular massage in my back pocket too. But right now, I am the head coach and client success manager of a company who helps health and wellness practitioners with lead generation and marketing.
That's awesome. And that's actually my husband and I's favorite form of marketing as well, that we specialize in. And I tell everybody it took me a very long time because when I became a personal trainer and started my own business, in my head, I was a personal trainer building a business. And then my husband kept telling me, you got to learn copywriting. You have to learn marketing. You need to learn these words, click through rate and conversion rate and all this kind of stuff. And I fought him for years and years. And finally, it did click to me where one day I was like, I'm not a personal trainer. I am a marketer who does personal training.
Yeah,
And the key to a successful online business is being able to market yourself. And so I
absolutely.
love that that's what has become your specialty now throughout all these years, too. And I feel like everything that you've done prior has just led you to be able to become a good marketer. You've been
Absolutely.
there. It's my pet peeve when people just go have a degree or talk to a coach one day and then all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to help other fitness gurus market their business, and they've never actually walked in the trenches before.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think, I sometimes daydream about going to speak to a group of high school students or high school women and just tell them like you don't have to choose the straight and narrow path. You don't have to go to college. You can do whatever you want, and because of the internet, you have so much information at your disposal. So I always joke, I went to YouTube University. Like I am completely self-taught with all of the things that I do online now. And it's super empowering. Of course, there's days where I'm like, maybe I should go to college. Maybe I should have gone to college. But I feel very empowered in that I like carved out this own path for myself and get to live an awesome life where, tomorrow I'm going to go ruck up a butte in the middle of the day, or I can work out at noon, and, my dog gets to hang out with me all day. And it's really beautiful. And you probably know this too. Like, there's a lot of freedom that comes with um, being an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of responsibility.
Mhm.
And sometimes I daydream about, oh, you know what? It actually would be easier if somebody was just writing me a check
Sure.
every other week.
And you just had to show up from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
You close your
Yep.
computer, don't think about it for the rest of the day. But I think that entrepreneurship is one of the biggest spiritual journeys we can go on and the greatest ceremonies we can put ourselves through. It will test you, um, it tests your self-worth, it'll test your confidence, it'll test like your capacity, your resiliency, and that is a beautiful thing. And I like doing hard things, so it makes sense that I would choose this path.
Which takes us perfectly into you doing 75 hard. But before we do that, I have one other question for you because you doula, fertility massage therapist, and then you also mentioned the fact that you would love to go talk to specifically high school women. What is it about women specifically that really drives you and that you're so passionate about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think that women have not tapped in this current society, we have not tapped into our full potential between hacking, or I like to say harmonizing our cycles, birth, the empowerment of birth, creating your own path. Like I'll be completely frank, like I don't consider myself a feminist by any means. I actually really value traditional roles in partnership and
Mhm.
in the world, because I think the roles that women play, the traditional roles that we play, are so important to society. Motherhood. I know that's not for everybody. There's a lot of ways to mother. Motherhood, birth, um, nurturing, caretaking, those are all so, so important. And I love to see a woman who can do both, who can
Mhm.
run a successful business and still be a mother and an amazing partner and soften in the world. And this world that makes us want to be hard and we have to be boss babes and we got to like
Mhm.
go, 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 or we got to go to college. And I want us to be able to carve our own paths, and it's not the masculine path. It's a completely different path that only we can do, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with you. I feel like sometimes I play such a masculine role in my business that I am a very loving. I tell my husband all the time, "You don't understand how lucky you are and how good of a wife you have." Like I cook his lunches, I cook dinner every single night, I keep our house clean, and I don't do that because I'm trying to be like the Chad wife by any means. It's
Yeah.
just that's the role that I've taken on, and it's the role that makes me feel happy and proud, that I can. It's part of my pride that, yeah, I can work 12 hours a day, but still keep a house.
Yeah.
And I know that's
I
not for
know.
everybody. So anybody that's like, Kindle, that's just the role that Dan and I play here.
And Dan has his own roles. He has his
Exactly.
own ways that he supports your family, and there's a balance there, I
Right.
imagine. And, I want in my partnership to feel like it's balanced and we're both playing on our strengths. And my strengths happen to be the more traditional, nurturing, home making, cooking, cleaning, baby making strengths. And I love that. And that's my preference too. Like I know it's not for everybody. I don't by any means think that it's there one way is right or wrong. That is just my preference. And I feel super empowered in that role. And I want other women to feel empowered in whatever choice they make, whether it's a more traditional role or a non traditional role, but like you can do whatever you want and you can make up your own rules too. Um,
Exactly.
I'm also really passionate about like coming from the coaching space, coming from Austin. There's a lot of like feminine embodiment and woo woo spirituality when it comes to femininity. And I think that is all really amazing and powerful and beautiful. And there does need to be a balance. But I also, and this is where 75 Hard comes into, I want to empower women to, if you don't have a partner or you don't have male leadership in your life, how are you going to husband yourself? And how are you going to lead yourself in the world and be disciplined when you need to be disciplined? and do the hard thing when you need to do the hard thing. So that's kind of where 75 hard comes in. I don't know if you had a specific question about that or if you just want me to riff on it, but
Totally just riff on it. I mean, I remember it being a really popular thing for about the past year. You hear people doing it on and off, or I've heard people try to do it, but then if you mess up, you have to start back at day one. So then they actually never follow through. So I'd really just like to, and so I've heard like the good and the bad, but I've never done it enough to be able to tell clients, yes, I think you should do it. No, I don't think that you should do it. Do I think it's very extreme? Yes.
yeah.
Do I think that everybody should do it? Absolutely not. But
Yeah.
I would love to hear that somebody did it and had a positive experience, and what led you, first off, what is it? And then two, what made you decide I'm going to give this 75 days?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start with saying like 75 hard is not a sustainable lifestyle by any means
Right.
and would not encourage everybody to do it. But if you need a good kick in the butt, like it's a really great place to start.
Would you
So,
recommend it to somebody who wants to lose weight?
yeah, I would.
Would you?
And
Okay.
that was not the case for me. I did initially lose about 10 pounds and then I put that weight back on pretty quickly because I build muscle very quickly. But I'm on like the 75 Hard official Facebook group and seeing people's weight changes is just like profound. I'm like, wow. Now, are they able to keep that off? I don't know. But, I'm sure it did give them that initial kick in the butt and, seeing what's possible for them. So I think it is a great place to start. And so to tell you what 75 Hard is, it's a program created by Andy Frisella, who is the founder of First Form. And it's the 75 hard initially is 75 days of 2 workouts a day, 2 45-minute workouts, and one of them must be outside. A gallon of water a day, progress picture a day, no alcohol. Um, Pick one diet and stick to it. Pick whatever diet you want. It could be Whole30, keto, counting macros, whatever you decide. And then I set a progress picture and then 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day. So, um, kind of going back to why I decided to do it, I had a breakup in September of 2023. And while the breakup was my choice, there's still struggles and it was
Sure.
challenging. And um, let's see, I went on a ski trip with two of my really good friends, married couple. And Jeremy, the husband, is very disciplined, manly man. He owns a CrossFit gym. And I was just kind of sharing with him some of my challenges. And he was like, I really think you should do 75 hard. And I was like, no, that is too intense for me. I am already a very intense, aggressive person. And I was like, I don't need more of that in my life. I think I'm going to hire I think I'm going to hire a relationship coach. I think I'm going to spend $5,000 on a relationship coach. And he was like, rolling his eyes. You can just do 75 hard and you don't have to pay any money to do it. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, maybe I'll think about it. So he convinced me to do it. And, his reasoning was like, your workouts don't have to be intense. Like your outdoor workout could be a walk, it could be a ruck. Like you can make it however you want. Like
So you're not
for your,
killing yourself for 90 minutes a day.
no. Pretty much, I would say 95% of my outdoor workouts were walks.
Mhm.
But it was also in the middle of winter in Bend, Oregon, where there was lots of snow. There was times where my outdoor workout was shoveling snow too. So you can choose whatever you want. It could be yoga. It could be, there was times where my workout was like pliability, like stretching. So I decided to do it. And my intention was to prove to myself that I could do exactly what I said I was going to do. It
Mhm.
really wasn't to lose weight. It was really to have a North Star and something to focus on during this challenging time in my life. And what I got out of it was a massive amount of self trust. Like, I know that if I say I'm going to do something, I will do it because I have done 75 days of it.
Mhm.
And with the self trust came self confidence. And with the self confidence came a whole new level of self love. And it was just so empowering. And again, it wasn't about the aesthetics for me. That was a bonus for sure. Like I said, I lost about 10 pounds to start, and then I put that back on pretty quickly. But I am super strong now and I can do hard things. And I I love working out. I've always enjoyed working out, but had trouble like getting to the gym every day. And
Mhm.
now the gym is like it's like my drug. Like
Just
I
your
love
routine. Right.
it's my routine. I absolutely love it. I have so much fun. Going into the gym and lifting really heavy weights is so empowering. Again, it's not about aesthetics, it's about how heavy can I lift.
Mhm.
Um, and the aesthetics are just a bonus, and I'm also very blessed with really great genes, high metabolism, so, don't compare yourself to me. Um, but I also put in the work too.
Mhm.
You know, I do like, sometimes my friends will be like, "Oh, it's just your genes." And I'm like, "It's just my genes, but I also go to the gym 6 days a week."
Sure.
So give me a little bit of, um, credit there.
Right, for sure.
So
When do you think, because I feel like a lot of people, we always say as trainers, motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going because you're going to have days when you're not going to want to work out, you're not going to want to show up. But when you're doing something like that, where it's something expected every day, it comes to the point where you look at it and go, well, I've already made it through this far. I don't want to give up on myself. And then that's kind of like when the mountain starts to, you come down the mountain, right? Because you're at that spot where you've made it far enough
yeah.
that you want to keep the ball going. How long do you think it took you to get to that point? Because when you're talking to people and they're starting something like that, they're like, "Well, I'm doing 75 hard, but I'm only 5 days in." Where in their mentality, they're like, "I'm only this far in." Where I always have to remind people, well, you have to start with day 1, so you're already past the hardest day, now you keep it going. Do you remember any switch in your head of going like, I am in this?
Yeah, I would say, like, about a month in, that happened, and then about, like, 45 or maybe 50 days in, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so tired of this." So you kinda, like, hit a couple different walls, but I also think, like, one of the biggest there's huge mindset shifts that happen. Like, you're not a person who is trying to work out or a person who is like trying to lose weight. You are a person that goes to the gym. You are a person that takes care of their body, and that's a huge mindset shift. So you just
Sure.
wake up and you do it, and like you don't think about it anymore. You just make sure you check off the boxes. There's also a really great app that they've made so you can literally every day like check off the boxes for each day and upload your progress picture. um yeah, it's so powerful and I would highly recommend it to anybody, no matter where they are on their journey.
Once you finish the 75 days, were there any of those daily habits where you're like, well, I've already made it 75 days. I'm just going to keep this going? Or were you like, nope, done with that one?
Yeah, I would say it was kind of like I'm done. I still go to the gym every day, for the most part, maybe take like 1 day off a week. I don't do my walks, which I want to get back into, especially now that it's beautiful outside. Gallon of water, nobody needs to be drinking a gallon of water a day. That is just silly. And it had to be a nonfiction book, so I was so glad to be done, so I could start reading my fiction again. I'm a very big fiction girly.
What book
Um,
did you read first? Do you
for
remember?
75 hard, yeah, I'll actually grab it because it's a really powerful book. I actually only read one book because this book is like 1,000 pages long, 900 pages long. It's called Arate by Brian Johnson,
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
and the Activate Your Heroic Potential, Ancient Wisdom and Modern Science, Move from Theory to Practice to Mastery. So, such a powerful book that just has like lots of great stories and again, ancient wisdom and modern science. So, bringing in like stoicism with, neuroscience and things. It was a really powerful book.
And what kind of, so I know that you kind sounds like you've dabbled in a little bit of all sorts of fitness over your life of yoga, living your fitness, going out and hiking and living the outdoor life. What's your favorite sort of workouts that you do now?
Yeah, I am obsessed with functional bodybuilding. So there's a guy named Marcus Philly who is an
Mhm.
ex CrossFitter, and he created.
That is
Oh
one lean ass mother trucker.
my gosh,
How
Marcus.
does he keep that figure year round?
Well, I think doing functional bodybuilding, but also his diet is like
It's
on
crazy.
point.
Yeah.
And that's an
And he's
opportunity.
pretty open about that too.
Yeah. That's an opportunity I have for sure. I do still struggle with like my nutrition. Mostly I just don't eat enough. And I forget to eat, but I think his diet for sure. But functional bodybuilding is so fun, and it's aesthetics like bodybuilding. You look good, but you're doing it in a functional way where you're not going to get hurt. I remember a couple months ago, I went to the climbing gym. So a little more context, I grew up rock climbing in Arkansas. So I have like the skills, like I know how to rock climb, but I don't always have the strength. But I went to the rock climbing gym and I flashed a V5, which flashed means I walked up to it and I just did it
Gotcha.
without following. And a
And for those
V5,
of you guys listening to that don't know, you generally start at like a V0 and
yeah,
you build up from there. And a V5, my husband and I climbed for maybe 2 years, and like that's where we got to. And I consider
yeah,
myself very strong, especially
yeah.
in my upper body.
Yeah, and it was because I do functional bodybuilding,
Yeah.
and I just find it so fun, and I love the results that I get. I love how I feel. I love that it's a mixture. There's some powerlifting, there's some like machine work, and he actually has like 5 different tracks. So there's pump lift, which is more hypertrophy focused. There's pump condition, which is more aerobic focused, and then there's like pillars, which is kind of like just like for newbies. And then there's perform, which has a lot of Olympic lifting in it. And they're all similar. They just have added features. So I was doing pump lift for the past since January. And I just switched to pump condition because I'm training for a Hyrox. That's my new challenge.
I've been hearing so much about Hyrox. That's awesome. So share a little. I know that we're coming up on time. So hopefully if I'm going over your time, let me know.
You're good.
But
You're good.
I would love to hear a little bit about Hyrox. I'm actually trying to get Christy O'Connell, who is a CrossFit athlete, who's
Yeah.
now really getting into it as well, trying to get her on the podcast. But I've been seeing it everywhere. So what is it for everyone listening, and when is yours?
Okay, mine is in November in Dallas. So I've got some time, but I do need to start running because it's a big part of it is running, and I'm not a running girly. I'm a hypertrophy girly. Will skip cardio all the time. But this is that's what I want to that's what I need to work on. So I thought, let's do this. So I pulled it up over here because I always forget, but it's the same race every time. No matter where you go, this is going to be the Hyrox race. So you do a 1 kilometer run, and then you do 1,000 meter ski erg. And then between each exercise, you do another 1 kilometer run. So 1 kilometer run, 50-meter sled push, run, 50-meter sled pull, run, burpee broad jumps, run, 1,000-meter rowing, run, 200-meter farmer's carry, run, sandbag lunges, run, 75 wall balls.
So it's like CrossFit meets Spartan, and they
Yeah.
come together and have a baby.
Yeah, it's for they like to say it's kind of for like hybrid athletes, which I
Mhm.
would not consider myself a hybrid athlete, but I guess I'm gonna become one.
You're becoming one. That's what I consider myself, because running is my jam.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a fun new challenge,
That's
and I'm
awesome.
doing it with one of my good girlfriends here in Bend, who I should actually totally connect you with. She's a strength and conditioning coach for mountain bikers and skiers and
Oh
rock
yeah,
climbers,
please do. Yeah.
specifically with strength and conditioning for those sports so people can have longevity in those sports. But I'm doing it with her. So we're going to be doing it as a team. So we get to like break up the exercises, which will be great. I'm like, cool. Can you do all the wall balls, please?
Exactly. I'd be like, "Can you do the sled push, please?"
Well, I think like she'll do the push and I'll do the pull, or one or
Uh-huh.
the other, and she'll be cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
so then my last question then is, with all of this, and clearly you are somebody who you finish something, I'm assuming you really get like a high off of these big events, just
Yes.
because that's exactly how I am when I do this kind of stuff as well. So after this, do you have any other future goals of like, well, now I've done this, I'm going to do a 50K trail run, or what else is in the bucket
Yeah.
list?
I think I take it like one thing at a time.
Mhm.
Like, definitely the High Rocks is what I have my eyes set on right now, and then we'll see what comes next. But I recently went on a hunt. One of my previous partners, the one that I have talked about, he leads conscious hunting retreats where it's very, it's like bringing sacredness back to hunting and the connection with the animal. And there's also sometimes a psychedelic aspect to it. Obviously, you're not doing that in hunting at the same time. But I got really clear on that trip that all my biggest goal in life is to be a mom. And I think that I kind of have gotten caught up in the boss babe world, and for good purpose. I have to take care of myself. I have to pay the bills. I have to work. And I'm grateful I get to do something that I really love. But, I had two friends reflect to me recently, like, Mallory, the one thing I know you've always been certain of is that you want to be a mother. And so I'm really kind of going all in on making that happen. In I'm dating somebody right now, but it hasn't become like super serious, but like giving myself permission to let that be my goal and focus and to date with that intention and like that being okay. And I think again in this society, it's all about like how much money can you make? Like what job can you get? Can you become an entrepreneur? Are you a coach? Like all of those things. And like really giving myself permission to come alive because I've finally accepted that that's really what I want in life. So between now and then, when that happens, I'm sure there will be a lot of more challenges and exciting things that I put myself through. But that's the ultimate like goal for me.
I love that. And I would speak a lot more on that because I can 100% relate. But I think that's a podcast for another day because it
Mhm.
is something that's still very raw to me as a woman who was in your position. And all I can tell you is that don't embrace that boss life for too long. Always thinking, well, next year will be the year we'll hit this goal and then we'll start trying, we'll do, and then you just continuously live in that cycle. And now here I am at 40 and
Yeah.
I'm going, I kept doing that boss life over and over and over again when I was right where you were when I was 33. And it's a hard pill to swallow a lot. So I applaud you for realizing that already and making that a big focus.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
It's going to
I make
happen.
I make most things happen in my life. So
You
like
absolutely
this
sound
one
like you do. You're putting it out in the universe.
yeah.
You are going to do some amazing things. Well, Mallory, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Tell people where they can find you and absolutely talk a little bit more about Growth Accelerator if you want people to if anyone's an entrepreneur and wants to learn more about your marketing and how you can help them, please give yourself a shout out.
Yeah, so my personal Instagram is Mallory Jacks, MALLORYJAX. I mostly post a lot of personal stuff, a lot of workout videos, day like my life there. I don't talk a lot about the business there. My business partner is Dr. Matt Shiver. So I think that's his Instagram, DrMattshiver. And that's where most of the marketing happens for our business. And Growth Accelerator is a program that helps health and wellness entrepreneurs, chiropractors, physical therapists, personal trainers, health coaches, helps them generate leads through social media. So we do paid and organic marketing. But if somebody's brand new, we'll help them create an offer and then learn to market that so that you can generate leads and do the thing that you want to do, which is coach people. And you really have to learn how to step into that business owner role so that you can get the clients to then do what you want to do, which is coach people. So that's what we love doing. We have a 5-step process that we teach people to get there. We have curriculum. We have an amazing community on school that's very active. And you're paired with a one-on-one coach to coach you through the process as well. Um, and I think that's all I'll say for now, but we love what we do. It's super fun. And I think a lot of health and wellness entrepreneurs, they like have their offer, but they know nothing about running a business. So that's kind of where we come in and get to hold their hand and walk them through that process.
Love it. Because unfortunately, nowadays, you can't just build and expect they will come. You actually have to do something for people to come.
Exactly.
For
Exactly.
sure. Well, thank you so much. And keep me posted on how you do in November, right? The Hyrox?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll see it on Instagram too, but I'll definitely keep you posted. This has
sounds good.
been so fun. I love talking about my
Well, thank you, Miss Mallory. Good luck with everything. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. I will keep this outro very short and sweet because I want you guys to go and think of what can I do this year? Yes, I want you to make an actual goal for this year, whether it is something with fitness, just maybe it's reading. You want to read a book each month. What's a goal that you can do to get outside of your comfort zone that kind of makes you wonder, like, can I do this? That is going to make you feel make you feel empowerful, make you feel empowered, make you feel excited, and make you feel proud. Give yourself a goal. You have 6 months to do it, big or small, and go out and do it. I think that's what Mallory has definitely encouraged me to do. I love this woman, and I am definitely going to stay in touch with her. In fact, I do want to have her on again, especially after her Hyrox experience. So we'll chat it up again in the future. If you liked this episode, make sure to leave a review for the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It really does make a huge difference, and I would love to hear your thoughts down below. All right, you guys, bye.